The difference of two cubes can be factored into the product of a first-degree binomial and a quadratic trinomial. So we have x cubed minus a cubed is equal to x minus a times x squared plus xa plus a squared. So we'll notice, again, the first sign in the first factor is the same as the sign in our original polynomial. When we were adding two cubes, the first factor had addition. Since we're subtracting here, we have subtraction here. The second sign, or the first sign in the second factor, is always going to be different than the sign in the original polynomial. So here we have a negative. So in the second factor, we have a positive. And the last sign in our second factor is always going to be positive. So let's take a look at this with a real example. Let's say you were asked to factor and check the answer for x cubed minus 27. Step 1, add the cube root of each term to the first factor. So we have x cubed. The cube root of x cubed is equal to x. So that's the first term in our first factor. We have negative 27. The cube root of negative 27 is equal to negative 3. So our first factor is x minus 3. And step 2, add the square of each cube root to the second factor. The first cube root was x. When we square this, we get x squared. The second cube root was negative 3. When we square this, we get positive 9. I'll place that at the end of the second factor. And now step 3, add the negative product of the cube roots to the second factor. The product of the cube roots is x times negative 3, so that would be negative 3x. The negative product would then be positive 3x. So when we factor x cubed minus 27, we get x minus 3 times x squared plus 3x plus 9. And we see the first sign in our first factor matches the sign in the original polynomial. The second sign is opposite from the original sign. And the last sign is always positive. So those are correct as well, giving us a little bit of added confidence that we did this correctly. But to confirm that we found the correct factors, you can check the answer by multiplying the factors. When you do so, the final polynomial must match the original polynomial, x cubed minus 27. So when we multiply the factors, we get x times x squared, which is x cubed. X times positive 3x is positive 3x squared. X times positive 9 is positive 9x. Negative 3 times x squared is negative 3x squared, which cancels out positive 3x squared. Negative 3 times positive 3x is negative 9x, which negates positive 9x. And negative 3 times positive 9 is negative 27. So when we multiply the factors, we wind up with x cubed minus 27, the original polynomial. And that confirms that the factors were indeed x minus 3 and x squared plus 3x plus 9. So that is how you would go about factoring the difference of two cubes. Let's wrap things up by having you complete a few practice questions. Question number 1, factor x cubed minus 216 and check the answer. Question number 2, factor 27x cubed minus 64 and check the answer. And question number 3, factor 16x cubed minus 54 and check the answer. Pause the video, answer these questions, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Question number 1, we were given x cubed minus 216. Step 1, add the cube root of each term to the first factor. So we first take the cube root of x cubed, which will give us x. and that's the first part of our first factor. We then examine negative 216. The cube root of negative 216 is equal to negative 6. So when we add that to the first factor, we get x minus 6 as our first factor. And now step 2, add the square of each cube root to the second factor. Our first cube root was x, so when we square that cube root, we get x squared. Our second cube root was negative 6. When we square negative 6, we get positive 36. And now we can take a look at step 3, which is to add the negative product of the cube roots to the second factor here. Well, if we multiply the cube roots, we get x times negative 6, which would be negative 6x. So the negative product would be positive 6x. So when we factor x cubed minus 216, we wind up with x minus 6 times x squared plus 6x plus 36. And now to confirm that we found the correct factors of x cubed minus 216, we'll multiply these factors, and we need to get x cubed minus 216 as the resulting polynomial. So we get x times x squared, which is x cubed. X times positive 6x is positive 6x squared. X times 36 is 36x. Negative 6 times x squared is negative 6x squared, which cancels out positive 6x squared. Negative 6 times positive 36 is negative 36x, which cancels out positive 36x. And negative 6 times positive 36 is negative 216. So when these middle terms cancel each other out, we are left with x cubed minus 216, which was the original polynomial, thus confirming that the factors of this polynomial are x minus 6 and x squared plus 6x plus 36. So that is the answer to question number 1. Let's have a look at question number 2. We were given 27x cubed minus 64. Step 1, add the cube root of each term to the first factor. So we have 27x cubed. The cube root of 27 is equal to 3. And the cube root of x cubed is equal to x. So 3x is the first term in the first factor. Then we examine negative 64. The cube root of negative 64 is equal to negative 4. So we add that to the first factor. We see that the first factor is 3x minus 4. Step 2, add the square of each cube root to the second factor. Our first cube root was 3x. If we square this, we get 3 times 3, which is 9. X times x is x squared. So we get 9x squared in the second factor. Our second cube root was negative 4. When we square negative 4, we get positive 16. So we add that to the second factor. Step 3, add the negative product of the cube roots to the second factor. The product of the cube roots is 3x times negative 4, which is negative 12x. So the negative product would be negative 1 times negative 12x, which would give you positive 12x. So when you factor 27x cubed minus 64, you get 3x minus 4 times 9x squared plus 12x plus 16. And you can check the answer by multiplying the factors. And if we get 27x cubed minus 64, that would confirm that these are the factors for this polynomial. So we get 3x times 9x squared, which is 27x cubed. 3x times 12x is positive 36x squared. 3x times positive 16 is positive 48x. Negative 4 times 9 is negative 36x squared. That will negate positive 36x squared. Negative 4 times positive 12 is negative 48x. That will cancel out positive 48x. And negative 4 times 16 is negative 64. So when the middle terms negate each other, you are left with 27x cubed minus 64, which was the original polynomial, thus confirming that you can factor this expression to 3x minus 4 times 9x squared plus 12x plus 16. In question number 3, we were given 16x cubed minus 54, but we'll notice that 54 is not a cube root and neither is 16. So that is a clue that we'll need to remove a common factor from each term, and that common factor is 2. When we do so, 16 divided by 2 is 8, and negative 54 divided by 2 is negative 27. 8 is a cube, 2 times 2 times 2. Negative 27 is a cube, negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. So we see here that we created the difference of 2 cubes, and now we can proceed the way we normally would. So step 2, add the cube root of each term to the first factor. So we have 8x cubed, the cube root of 8 is 2, and the cube root of x cubed is x. So that gives us 2x in this factor here. Then we look at negative 27. The cube root of negative 27 is equal to negative 3. So we add that to the factor as well. And now step 3, add the square of each cube root to the second factor. So our first cube root was 2x. So the square of that cube root would be 2x times 2x, which is 4x squared. Our second cube root was negative 3. So if we square that, that will give us positive 9, which we'll add in this factor here. And now step 4, add the negative product of the cube roots to the second factor. We have 2x times negative 3, which would give us negative 6x. So the negative product would be positive 6x. So when we factor 16x cubed minus 54, we wind up with 2 times 2x minus 3 times 4x squared plus 6x plus 9. In the last step, we can check the answer by multiplying the factors. And if we get 16x cubed minus 54, the original polynomial, then we'll know that we found the factors correctly. So we'll first multiply the expressions inside the parentheses, giving us 2x times 4x squared, which is 8x cubed. 2x times 6x is 12x squared. 2x times positive 9 is 18x. Negative 3 times 4x squared is negative 12x squared, which will cancel out positive 12x squared. Negative 3 times positive 6x is negative 18x, which cancels out positive 18x. And negative 3 times positive 9 is negative 27. So we multiply the two factors inside the parentheses. We get 8x cubed minus 27 inside the parentheses times 2. And when we distribute the 2, we get 16x cubed minus 54, the original polynomial, thus confirming that when we factor this expression, you will get 2 times 2x minus 3 times 4x squared plus 6x plus 9.